Deep in the heart of Texas at Circuit of the Americas, drivers penalized throughout the course of the day. We're talking track limits on this edition of PRN Fast Talk. John Hunter Nemechek, one of 4 drivers busted for track limits yesterday. John Hunter was penalized on lap 5, Chase Briscoe on lap 11, Chase Elliott on lap 39, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. busted on lap 47. Now, track limits is something that's become in vogue at COTA, something that we really started hearing more about throughout the course of the weekend with a triple header. Only through the part of the S's is where NASCAR was going to penalize you for cutting the course. And a lot of folks, it was unsettling to them, and they felt like the penalty didn't fit the crime. Right, that you had to do a pass-through penalty, go all the way back through the pits for just cutting slightly, one part of the course. What did you guys make of NASCAR's ball and strike call with these 4 penalties for track limits?
You're right with the ball and strikes. I think it's totally a judgment call, and it's really hard to police. And I would want to be NASCAR at that moment. And you really have to have one person just watching the S's, right? Because it's like it is a very narrow line to cross before you make that move. And I think it was a little heavy-handed, but that's my opinion. Gosh, it's just you don't know what the intention is at the time, and I think that makes it difficult.
Yeah, I agree. I think the punishment did not fit the crime. I think there has to be some type of policing of that, because otherwise they'll just drive right through, and then you take away all technical aspects of the racetrack, and that's just not right either. So there's got to be a happy medium, right? And we've heard tons of people talk about different punishments that could potentially be a little bit maybe easier on drivers that cut through the S's. But then you also have the frustration of people that are like, okay, well, why are you policing it in this part of the racetrack, but you're not policing it in other parts of the racetrack? One stat that I thought was interesting was, okay, so you said there was 4 on Sunday in the Cup race. I think there was, 37 or something, 34 between trucks and Xfinity on Saturday. Doug Rice on our broadcast said that he had talked to NASCAR timing and scoring, and they reviewed some like 2,000 incidences because they have this software that is alerting them to somebody potentially, being in stepping over the bounds and needing to have a call made. And they're having to go through all of these incidences they're being brought up by the software and determine whether or not that should be a penalty or not. Balls and strikes, like you said. You have the incident yesterday with Chase Elliott where, he clearly was just trying to make sure he didn't spin out.
He was forced in there,
exactly.
Yeah.
And they tried to argue it, on their radio. Alan Gustafson is like, "Hey, can you look at the data?" And NASCAR just said, "No, we're going to penalize you," and that in turn pretty much ruined Chase Elliott's day. So I think there is a need for track limits at COTA because of the way that track is laid out. But I think there's also a need for changing what the punishment is should you step out of those track
limits. One of the things that I would have liked to see on the broadcast is maybe how you'll watch an NFL game and they'll highlight in bright yellow the first down marker so we can all see it. I wish they would have had a bright yellow indication of out of bounds markers through the S's so we could have been at home in NASCAR seat helping make the call. Like that was
armchair
unfair.
Quarterback.
Yeah. Well, and without that, I'm like, kind of force the viewer to say, well, was it?
Yeah.
And how egregious was it? So it'll be interesting to see how NASCAR kind of responds to that.